Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back, and today we've got a brand new video on Bitcoin today. And it's been going through so much stuff recently, and it's just something that you cannot ignore. So you can see Bitcoin right here on CoinMarketCap just crossed 19,000. It's been hovering there. It did drop very heavily today. It dropped like $1,000 down to like 18.2 and rallied all the way back up. So to me, that is a great sign that Bitcoin is very, very bullish. When these drops occur, they don't last, and people scoop up Bitcoin at what would be a discounted price of only $1,000 cheaper, which is a big drop, but not that big when you talk about Bitcoin. So right now we are just looking and waiting for Bitcoin to cross that $20,000 mark, and I just think that once you hit that, it's going to be off to the moon. Like, that's going to be uncharted territory. And from everything that I've seen, Bitcoin's head is going to be 28,000 or 26,000 before it starts even thinking about finding any resistance. So that's all speculation, though. That is something that nobody can be sure is going to happen. But I think we've seen the correction. We're back on the uptrend. Once we get to that $20,000 mark, that's the key spot of where we need to cross and then to explode. So right now, smart money is getting in. Institutional money, you see there's not a lot of retail investors with too much interest right now. So I think once we cross 20, once more publicity starts going out and Bitcoin starts really being talked about, a lot of people hop in and FOMO in, and we'll see people push the price up very drastically. One message from Raoul Paul, I think his name is Raoul Paul. He was talking in an interview, and I'll show the clip after this, but he was talking in an interview about how Bitcoin, the BTC, or the Plan B outlook is $288,000 a coin, I think by 2022. I think that's the look. But he talks about how by the end of 2021, he thinks Bitcoin would be at least $150,000 a coin, and at a good case scenario, best case scenario, over $250,000 a coin. I see no reason why Bitcoin is going to be under $100,000. You can look at, the supply. We can even see right here, like, you're looking at these supplies. This circulating supply is 18.5 million, and the total supply is 21 million. We just had a halving, and it is getting a lot more scarce to find Bitcoin, to get Bitcoin. So you can see with right here, PayPal bought 70% of all newly mined Bitcoins last month because the demand is just going through the roof, and people cannot keep up with this. And eventually, we're going to hit a point where the demand's so high, the supply isn't there, and there is no way to make more Bitcoin. So the only thing that can happen is the price goes up until someone either says, no, I'm not paying that, or someone else jumps in and says, yeah, I'll pay that, and it keeps going up. So I just think we're in insane times, and Raoul Paul says that as well. Like, this is something no one's ever seen before. No one has seen an asset where you cannot get more supply, and that demand skyrockets, and then the supply gets cut in half every X amount of blocks, normally about every 4 years. So between PayPal and Cash App or Square, they are accounting for basically 100% of all newly mined Bitcoins. They are taking it to, offer their customers as Bitcoins. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in 2021, where there's just not enough Bitcoin to go around. It's just simple as that. There's not enough Bitcoin for all the demand that's happening. So we can even go to this Bitcoin chart before I go to that clip, and you can see just the yearly of Bitcoin. It is the best performing asset. It outperforms the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and is far outperforming the stock market in general, Dow Jones, and then gold. Everything is just, Bitcoin's outperforming it. It's like 126% that Bitcoin's performing. You can see in this chart, a year ago, roughly, it was $7,300, and today it is $19,010, just updated. So it is going to be an insane year We've seen this skyrocket. If it follows in the footsteps of the last year's bull or 2017's bull market, then I think we'll see a six-figure Bitcoin pretty soon. I don't see any reason why it won't be six figures by the end of 2021. So this is the Raoul Pal clip of him talking about Bitcoin. He's kind of in an interview here, and he's just talking about, you know, Bitcoin and what he thinks of it. He gives his predictions, and they ask a couple of questions. So it's a good interview.
We have been witnessing a massive Bitcoin rally, which reminds everyone of what we saw in 2017. So we also know what happened in 2017 when Bitcoin eventually reached almost 20,000 and then it crashed by 50% 1 month after. So what do you think? Is this rally different from back then? And if so, how is that different?
It's incredibly different. If you remember, going back then, the only investors were retail. There was almost nobody else involved. And all I'm hearing every day from every contact is institutional money. And what's fascinating is once you look at the supply of Bitcoin, there's about 900 a day come onto the market from the mining. Most of that is being absorbed between Grayscale, PayPal, and Square. Now, at the rate PayPal and Square are growing, they're going to take the entire new supply out of the market. Against that, you then look at what is happening to the coins that are in the market. Well, they're coming off exchange. People are putting them into cold storage. So there is no supply. I have literally never seen a situation like this before, where there is no supply coming into the market and demand is going up every day because institutions are coming in. So I think we're at the early stage of something that's potentially much bigger than any of us actually think. And that is almost a little bit terrifying. I've never seen a market with this supply and demand imbalance before. From what I know, and I know a lot of people in the industry, they are all onboarding institutional clients, family offices, endowments at an enormous pace. But 20,000 here is not the same as 20,000 back then. Back then it had gone up 100-fold when it got to 20,000. We haven't even started this yet. So later on, when things get speculative, we will see something similar potentially play out. But the difference is, again, and where these guys are getting it wrong, they're saying, well, people aren't as interested. Yeah, but the real money is interested, and that's a game changer.
You are a strong proponent of Plan B stock-to-flow model, which predicts Bitcoin will reach $280,000 by 2022. We had Byte3 CIO Charlie Morris on our show not long ago, who claimed to have debunked the stock-to-flow model.
Well, I suppose that you sum it up by it's too good to be true. I mean, it would be really nice if that model was true.
According to him, the assumption that diminishing supply will be driving Bitcoin's price up is false because supply does not create value, demand does. And if Bitcoin becomes too expensive, demand for it will decrease accordingly, which in turn will drive down its price. So what do you think of this argument?
I think it's nonsense. And the reason being is the price of Bitcoin is not like the price of an equity, which is a P ratio and stuff. It's just a monetary number. So there is no excessively expensive, excessively cheap. It doesn't work that way. It's driven by flow and its future potential. So none of that is true. Now, Plan B stock to flow model, and him and I have spoken about this reasonable amount, is there is no perfect model. So anybody who thinks there's some amazing engineer or mathematics guy who can disprove this, it's nonsense. What it is a hypothesis that needs testing. But let's assume Plan B is an idiot. Everything was wrong. And it only goes to 140,000. Was he wrong? Or did you make a ton of money? Demand is based in Bitcoin on the network effect. Gold doesn't have that. Bitcoin is a very, very different beast. It's a distributed asset with a network effect. So that network effect means increasing demand over time. That's essentially why all networks have exponential curves. That is not gold.
Wait, but are you saying that gold doesn't have a network effect? Why is it that?
It doesn't have an exponent because it's been around for 10,000 years. Its network is pretty established, right? You're not bringing new adoption. You bring some people back in, some people out, but generally, my guess is gold adoption was higher 100 years ago than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So can that mean that people come into gold? Yeah, sure, I'm bullish gold. Does it have the network effect of Bitcoin, which has a potential future in the financial system itself, whether it's collateral or payment system or whatever ends up developing? Nothing else has that. Single equities have it, but you've never seen an asset with this before. It just didn't exist ever. We've never had an asset based around technology.
I would like to ask you, what is your outlook for Bitcoin price for the 1 year from now?
Look, I think it's, if I was a conservative, I'd say 150,000. If I'm to be realistic, knowing what I know about the flow of funds, I think I have a feeling that Plan B's model is going to underprice the upside. I know everybody thinks on this cycle the price will be lower. I just don't see it because the amount of money coming into the space. So I actually have a feeling it might be above his target of about 250,000, but I don't know. But I like that optionality. You know, worst case 150, best case north of 250. I mean, find me another trade in the world that looks like this.
That was Raul Paul talking about Bitcoin. He covered Plan B's outlook on it, their trajectory, and how he thinks it's going to be over $250,000 a coin by the end of next year, and then conservatively 150. I mean, you can't go wrong either way. So, you know, I like Bitcoin. I love the future of Bitcoin. I think next year is going to be a crazy year for Bitcoin. And as well as you see him cover in the beginning of that, you know, how the network effect of Bitcoin and the supply that PayPal and Square Cash App are taking out of the market. The newly mined coins are immediately being swooped up by them. So it's going to get interesting, and Bitcoin is getting scarcer and scarcer every day. So we'll see how this goes. I'm super bullish Bitcoin. Let me know what you guys think. And lastly, I pulled that from a channel called Aimstone. So if you want to check him out, he does videos on Bitcoin and crypto in general. And his videos are very good. I love watching them. They're pretty informational. So let me know what you guys think about Bitcoin. Are you bullish on Bitcoin, or are you staying away? And leave your answer in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys in my next video.